What is going on, guys? In today's video we are deep diving into the brand new Path of Exile 2 0.3 patch and checking out the updated tier list for all the builds. And let me tell you, some old favorites got a huge buff, while others are struggling to keep up. With the new patch notes, the Deadeyes are stronger than ever. Then concoction builds got hit hard, and some caster setups have finally their time to shine. So no matter if you're a sorceress, a monk, a deadeye, or even a minion master, stick around, because this video will cover top 50 builds from worst to best, and I will give you a breakdown of how they perform in the new meta. And then, just before we get into the video, let me introduce you to LagoFast, which is a software that ensures better and faster connection routes to game servers by eliminating connection issues with a single press of a button. All you need to do is sign up through their website, then download the software. Then when you have LagoFast on your computer, just log in, choose the game that you want to play. So for us, it's Path of Exile 2. Then select your server region and then click boost, and that's it. Now you can enjoy whatever game you want to play, with the best possible connection and FPS. On top of this, you will get cool features like the FPS Booster 2.0, then Twitch Drops feature, which will allow you to claim rewards with a single click. Then also you will get POV2 filter mod. This tool allows players to quickly filter and identify high value items in the game by displaying them in different colors and much more. So LagoFast is truly all-in-one tool that not only reduces your ping and boosts FPS, but as you can see, gives extra features that other players don't have. So what are you waiting for? Click my link in the description to check them out and use my code K30 for 30% off. Don't miss this opportunity to make your gaming lag free and enjoy the 24 free trial just for you. So kicking things off with the D tier, we have the Hammer of the Gods Chronomancer. Simply put, this build took a huge hit with the new patch. It's scaling melee attacks with the divine themed hammers used to hit hard, but nerfs to the key nodes in the 0.3 made it really slow and inconsistent. While it was once a fun mid-game melee option, the timing on the cooldowns and the movement now make it almost unplayable for the competitive content. If you were considering trying this one out, then you might want to rethink your strategy, at least until the future patches. Next up in the D tier, we have the grenade-focused witchhunter. The build suffers from the same old problem. Grenades are too slow to detonate and rely heavily on the positioning. The new patch hasn't really changed much here. While the grenades can still deal decent AoE damage, their clear speed is just too slow to compete with the other setups. And without infusion generation or the other support, you're very likely to struggle in the higher maps. Next up, moving over to the C tier, we have the Hexblast Blood Mage build that got hit hard. This patch removed some of the synergies with the kill-triggered heralds, so the old one-shot gameplay loop is less effective. The Hexblast still works well with the chaos scaling and the curse explosions, but the mana to life conversion now requires careful management. It's still playable but not as dominating as before, as it requires more skill sustain in the longer boss fights. Next up we have Poison Concoction Pathfinder build. All concoction builds got a massive nerf, and Poison Concoction is no exception. This patch changed the stack caps and the flask timing by reducing the burst potential by nearly 50% in some scenarios. So your gameplay revolves around running through the maps, applying poison stacks, and relying on the contagion contamination for the spread. While it can still clear, you won't be one-shotting enemies like in the previous leagues. Then we have Shattering Concoction build, who also lands in the C tier. It shares many similarities with the Poisonous Concoction, but focuses on the freezing bottles that spread damage across multiple targets. The nerfs make it less efficient for the solo bosses, and while the perma-freezing mobs is fun, its overall damage output has dropped. The gear scaling is important to make the build competitive, so expect a slow start in the maps. Next up, the Ice Chronomancer build did not see major damage changes, but with the timing adjustments to the spells in 0.3, they're slightly less effective for the rapid clear. The Frost Walls and Ice spells still provide good control and AoE, making this a safe mid-tier pick, but it lacks the explosive damage needed for the S-tier efficiency. Then next up we have the B tier, and the first build is the Demon Form Infernalist. They're still excellent for AoE fire damage, scaling massively with the demon stacks, but the main drawback now is early map performance. It's less forgiving in the solo play, until you get enough demon ramp. But once you hit mid to late game, the setup is still highly effective, for both clear speed and the boss fights. Then next, the Permafrost Witchhunter gained a slight boost with the crossbow buffs in the new patch. Freezing enemies with the Permafrost bolts and detonating grenades is extremely fun, and allows for very high CC on the bosses. It's more situational for the large groups, but the combination of the freeze, frostfire and AoE detonation still makes it a strong pick. Then next, this build is known as the Tempest Flurry or Stat Stacker, which focuses on scaling strength, dexterity and intelligence. While it did not get major nerfs in the 0.3, it requires careful item investment to reach the full potential. Early game is manageable, but the late game scaling with the Tempest Flurry and the charge attacks remain one of the most satisfying setups in the game. Then next we have the poison focused gemling build, which is still strong. Summoning legionnaires to apply poison and chaos damage remains effective for damage over time. Defenses like the evasion and the block make this build very resilient, and the new patch did not impact it significantly, keeping it reliable in the sustained fights. Next up we have Explosive Shot Witchhunter, that benefits from the crossbow buffs but loses some efficiency on the single target boss fights. AoV clear remains strong, and using shock burst rounds for the bosses is still viable. Overall, it's a flexible mid-tier option with a fun gameplay loop. Then next we have the Galvanic Shards Witchhunter build, that didn't change much in the 0.3. It's good for AoV chain damage and mobility, especially when combined with the defensive layers. It doesn't have the fastest clear speed, but is still reliable for the early to mid-tier maps. Next up we have the Lightning Spear Amazon, which got a huge nerf, but is still decent for high single target scaling. The new patch, they changed some spear skills, but now the new meta favors faster AoV setups, which makes this build slower in comparison. However, it's still a strong choice for the boss fights. Next up we have the Bleed Amazon build, which now relies heavily on stacking attack speed and maximizing the bleed scaling. While the 0.3 patch did not change the core bleeding mechanics, the slow ramp up of the damage makes this build situational. Your primary gameplay focuses on weaving attacks between the movement, keeping the high uptime on the bleed stacks and managing the flasks efficiently. Next we have the Poison Amazon that retains a strong damage over time potential, especially with the chaos scaling and the attack speed investment. The 0.3 patch introduced minor poison infused tweaks, which slightly improves the consistency, but is not enough to elevate the build beyond the B tier. Gameplay revolves around the rapid attacks, stacking poison over time, and utilizing the nodes that extend duration and amplify the chaos damage. Next up we got the Glacial Bolt Amazon, which is all about freezing enemies and controlling the battlefield. While the patch 0.3 didn't affect the elemental scaling directly, so the freeze chance and utility still remain strong. The gameplay revolves around chaining bolts to maximize the crowd control, while dealing moderate AoV damage. Map clearing is safe, but not extremely fast, making this more of a defensive pick. Next up we have the Poison Acolyte, that scales exceptionally well with the chaos nodes and the life regeneration. Patch 0.3 improved defensive layers slightly, giving it a better sustainability in the higher dense areas. The gameplay revolves around summoning minions or using the chaos skills to spread poison while maintaining survival through the strategic flasks and positioning. Then next we have the Stormweaver Acolyte of Chayula build, that benefits from the elemental scaling and interactions with the minions. While not the fastest clear setup, they're extremely resilient with the right nodes. The gameplay involves around sending shockwaves across the enemy packs, while keeping the distance and leveraging the minion distractions. Then Tempest Flurry remains a robust stat stacking melee setup. Patch 0.3 did not drastically change the mechanics, so aggressive melee play is still highly effective. The gameplay involves around cycling Tempest Flurry with the charge attacks to generate massive lightning AoV and hitting multiple enemies simultaneously. Then the Deadeye Grenadier has gained a slight benefit from the crossbow buff by improving slightly the AoV clear speed. Gameplay focuses on throwing grenades, applying debuffs, and detonating strategically for the crowd control. While it's effective for mapping, this build will remain slower than Explosive Shot Deadeye. So now we've come to the A tier, and the first build is the Falling Thunder Invoker. This setup has slower early damage due to the nerf on the kill triggers in the patch 0.3. However, mid and the late game AoV remains extremely strong, particularly against grouped up enemies. Gameplay focuses on summoning thunder strikes that chain between enemies while using buffs and minions to control the battlefield. Then Flicker Strike Invoker continues to dominate the map mobility. Even with the minor nerf to the on-kill trigger, it still generates massive amounts of frenzy and the power charges. Gameplay revolves around dashing through the maps repeatedly, triggering multi-hit effects and converting charges for more burst potential. Defense is key, so the dodge, block and the shield is required to survive the high-speed chaos of the movement. Then next up, the Corrupting Cry Warriors received a slight buff to the armor and the physical damage scaling in the patch 0.3, so gameplay involves round charging into the enemy packs, applying AoV cleaves and layering the Corrupted Cry to maximize block and damage. The Stampede interactions also allow explosive ground effects that enhance our clear speed efficiency even more. Then Fireball Chronomancer setup remains reliable for AoV clearing and the screen control. This new update slightly boosted casting speed nodes by improving the spamming efficiency, so gameplay revolves around channeling the fireballs across enemy packs, while layering elemental debuffs, and boss fights are also manageable due to consistent high fire damage output. Then next, the Frost Mage Infernalist now benefits from the energy shield buffs and the Grim Feast synergies in the patch 0.3. Gameplay involves around summoning skeletal Frost Mages, freezing enemies and controlling the space. AoV clear is extremely strong, and defenses make it surprisingly resilient. Boss fights are also easy if the minions are positioned correctly, as Frost Mages freeze and can do damage consistently. Then the Fire Titan build excels at AoV with explosive fire skills. The 0.3 update improved fire penetration scaling, making the damage more consistent. The gameplay is all about running into the packs, layering the fire explosions and maintaining a ramp-up stacks. Boss encounters are also easy, due to the high single target damage from the explosive attacks. Next we have the Totem warbringer build that is now safer with the Ancestral Warrior Totem interaction. The gameplay is focusing on placing totems strategically and letting them do the heavy lifting while positioning yourself safely. AoV clear speed is fast, and defensive nodes make the setup resilient to large waves of enemies. Next we have the Hammer of the Gods Titan that benefits from the quality of life buffs in patch 0.3. Gameplay is all about swinging divine hammers to deal massive AoV damage. While slower than the ranged options, the scaling with the divine hammers will provide strong clearing potential. Defensive options also include armor, life nodes, and some resistances, which will allow you to survive longer engagements. Then next, we have the Southern Totem that scales effectively with the armor and attack speed. Patch 0.3 improved AoV consistency, making the map clear speed smoother. The gameplay is only about two things, so placing Southern Totems and hitting multiple enemies simultaneously. The bosses are manageable with a careful placement, and defensive nodes like the block and the life regeneration will complete the offensive power. The Ice Strike Invoker was affected by the Herald nerfs in the 0.2, but with the new setup it still holds a place in the A tier. Freezing enemies and dealing steady DPS will remain solid, though the one-shot potential has decreased. Gameplay involves around using the Ice Strike to close the distance, then using the Tempest Bell for the added damage and Shattering abilities for the ranged threats. This build is now safer and still really good, but slightly slower than the pre-patch. Then Boneshatter combines AoV melee with the defensive block layers. Recent patch changes increased base weapon damage by improving the map clearing. Gameplay focuses on chaining melee attacks to trigger Boneshatter while positioning for the optimal impact. Then Detonate Dead continues to shine with the minion scaling and the corpse explosions. The patch 0.3 increased corpses with the spawn reliability by enhancing the sustain AoV. The gameplay is super straightforward, you just have to coordinate your minions and time the detonations, which makes this a highly strategic setup but very spammy. Then Chaos Lich build is more stable post 0.3 due to improved energy shield and the chaos penetration scaling. The gameplay focuses on casting chaos spells, applying curses and leveraging the life recovery nodes. Defensive stability is high due to the energy shield and the leech, while DPS scale strongly with the chaos penetration and the crit nodes. Then next, the spirit minions now scale better with the minion damage nodes. The gameplay involves around summoning spirits that act as both DPS and defensive buffer, while you cast secondary spells. AoV clear is strong and the single target fights are manageable with the minion stacking. Patch 0.3 improvements to the minion AI makes this build more predictable and reliable, allowing consistent damage without sacrificing defenses. Then Fire Demon Infernalist build excels with the ramping AoV stacks. Patch 0.3 made the scaling more predictable and clear speed faster. The gameplay is about maintaining demonic stacks while layering the fire AoV to obliterate enemies. Boss fights benefit from the consistent dots and the high burst AoV, while defensive options come from life, armor and resistances. Then on the other hand, the Chaos Demon Infernalist build also remains strong for the AoV and the sustained damage. This new patch adjusted the chaos multipliers by slightly improving the clear efficiency. Usually the gameplay revolves around spreading chaos damage across enemies, while maintaining demonic stacks. Defensive play includes mobility, life nodes and resistances, so boss encounters are manageable with the proper positioning and the stacking effects. Then next, summoning focused lich build remains solid for the minion armies. Patch 0.3 improved minion scaling and the AoV interactions. Gameplay involves around maintaining a large number of minions for both the damage and tanking, while casting supporting spells. Defensive stability is high due to the minion absorption, life and resistances, and AoV damage remains competitive while making this a top tier summoning build. Then next we've come to the plus A tier. And for the first build, we have the Spark Stormweaver. That remains strong, but got a slight nerf in the Stormweaver interactions. While it's still visually impressive and deals high lightning damage, the overall burst is slower than in the previous patches. But the Spark Chaining, Lightning Condiant and the Mana Stacking still makes this build very fun for clearing multiple screens. And it's still got that crazy scaling for the endgame maps. Then next we have the Ballista Tactician build, that excels at range AoV with a strong single target scaling. This new balance changes improved targeting reliability and increased efficiency, so gameplay is about positioning to maximize the ballista coverage, then firing rapidly for sustained damage. And boss fights also benefit from the consistent single target output, while our AoV clears screens super quickly. Next, the Volcanic Fissure build scales with the fire AoV and the physical damage. The patch buffs to totem interactions make it a strong mid-tier choice. Gameplay focuses on placing fissures strategically and layering AoV fire effects. Defensive nodes help to absorb attacks, while positioning ensures optimal AoV coverage. Boss fights are easier when the fissures overlap by providing continuous damage. Next we have the Minion Army Infernalist build. Minion scaling remains strong post 0.3, so gameplay is about summoning and buffing minions for both AoV and single target efficiency. Defenses are robust due to the minion absorption and the life nodes. Then Cast on Crit Stormweaver build benefits from the patch improvements to the cooldowns and the damage scaling. The gameplay focuses on triggering lightning spells automatically on the critical strikes for the fast AoV clearing. Boss fights are manageable due to the high burst potential and the chaining abilities. And now for the last A+ tier, we have the Doomslayer Deadeye build, that excels in crit heavy setups with the crossbow. This new patch tweaks to the projectile scaling and the mark generation increase the burst potential. The gameplay is around stacking Doomslayer crits, applying marks, and maintaining the rapid projectile rotation. Mid-tier maps are cleared quickly, and the bosses fall fast when the crits chain correctly. And now finally we've come to the S tier, and the first one is the Explosive Shot Deadeye build that remains king. The crossbow buffs, AoV coverage and the herald synergies make it unmatched for the screen clearing. Gameplay focuses on detonating explosive shots, while proccing the heralds for the maximum AoV. And of course, like per usual, the boss fights are handled with a shock burst rounds for the efficient single target damage. Next we have the Ice Shot Deadeye build that scales perfectly with mobility and frost CC. In this patch it remains its superior scaling with the lightning rod and the blink. Gameplay is about spamming the Ice Shot while freezing mobs and the bosses, which enable near instant map clears. Boss DPS is extremely high due to the stacking frost debuffs, and positioning which ensures safe play while maximizing AoV and single target output. Next we have the Bonestorm Blood Mage build that now is pushed into the S tier due to the passive scaling. Gameplay involves round spinning through the maps for AoV crits, stacking life and the crit nodes for enormous damage. Boss encounters are devastating with the massive AoV coverage, and the Lich provides sustainability. Defenses from the energy shield and the life nodes also ensure that you remain viable in the prolonged fights. And now finally we've come to the last Lightning Arrow Deadeye build that remains one of the fastest leveling and endgame setups. This new patch enhanced its AoV and projectile interactions even more by making the clear speed super insane. The gameplay involves round spamming lightning arrows with a shock and the ball lightning combos by melting both the mobs and the bosses in seconds. Positioning, mark management and the timing of the herald will maximize damage, making this build one of the fastest and most reliable in the current meta.